Welcome back to the Marketing MadMen on Extra 106.3. Nick Constantino here, finishing up our conversation with Hugh Massie, founder of DNA Behavior International, and we have covered a lot, Hugh. Did you think we were going to talk about this much stuff in such a small time?
No, but I'm glad we did.
Good.
You inspired me, unlocked me. So.
Oh, well, we still have a lot to cover. So one of the things, you've written books. So in being in marketing, and at its core, I'm not a marketer, I'm a sales guy. I run a sales department. So I love where they intersect. And I understand why people write books and you want to get your name out there. I understand that you could buy your way onto the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal and all these guides. Talk about why you wrote books, what went into writing those books, what you got out of them, and what you think most people get wrong when they try to write a book.
For me, I probably thought about writing a book very differently to everybody else. And it wasn't necessarily about having the most sales or just writing a book to get for my ego or to be on the stage as to do a speaking show. It was more about conveying a process and having something tangible to hand to a client. This is the way in which, if you want to learn about your financial DNA, which is about how you deal with money and go on a whole self-awareness journey, here are all the steps. And so that's then conveyed through stories in the book, but it's a documentation of our process.
Got it.
Which is a legacy. The Leadership Behavior DNA book is the same thing. So to me, it's all about conveying a process and making what we do tangible. That can then become Nick can become a glorified brochure for the business.
Yeah. Or it could become a barrier to entry because you see how serious people are. If they can't even read the freaking book, then they're not ones they're going to invest in doing this process the right way, right? Like, I imagine you learn, and you learn if people fake it. Yeah, I read it. You read 2 chapters and you're pretending you know the book. You can spot that.
Absolutely. And these books are training aids for people that want to be able to follow our process. And so we've got people who run training courses off them. That's all great. And to me, that's what's serving the purpose. Not necessarily becoming the bestseller or having a movie written about it.
Sure.
I think that's a different type. That's a different type of book.
Sure.
And that's a different type of writer. And so that's for me is the thing with a book. And it create the book. The person who got the most out of the book is really me because it created clarity.
Yeah. Well, that's that self-awareness. At least you know it.
About myself. What was I doing? What were all my trigger points early in my life? How did that all come together?
Interesting.
Into the book and into the processes, and that is all there. And I think, like we've been doing today, having a conversation. People want to know a little bit about you.
Yeah.
But they also want to know a little bit, well, how do I do this?
Yeah, they're going to put their trust in you. They're going to put their faith in you. Reading a book and seeing a lot of these things. Because one thing about a book, right, like for someone to be interested in it, it has to be real. And you can sense that realism. Like we can make up stories all day long. I mean, some of the nights I had in my life, did the stories get altered from the state of mind I was in? Probably. But they happened.
Yeah.
And some of that organic. So I really think now, you mentioned employees. So how big is the organization? How many people do you have? Do they share your vision? How do you hire? How do you build your business?
Yeah, so at the moment we've got about 60 people, which is, there's some executives that work very closely with me and they're in Atlanta. Then we have software development teams.
Got it.
They're supervised from Atlanta back into India, Pakistan.
Sure.
We got a team in Sri Lanka and then a team in the Philippines. That's the core. We also use a lot of people in the gig economy to do specific projects. And then we've got a whole row of, if you want to call it, 1099 type consultants that are out there doing
specialty work and very niche things and stuff like that.
And the hiring process that we use our own system, psychometrics, to understand, the talents that are required.
So what does one of these exams look like? So one of my favorite things in the world is cognitive biases studies, where you have to make a decision really quickly and it's not thought, because I think you can kind of BS your way into a lot of things. What would one of these studies look like if I was to take one?
So what we do is, the first thing is everybody completes our mainline DNA assessment. It takes 10 to 12 minutes online. That's providing us with a lot of data points about the person. And so long as we've
Can I do it and then open the podcast with explaining what my results were?
Yes.
Will you send me a link to do it myself? And
Absolutely.
then just give me, I don't need to be 2 pages on it, but hey, based on this is what I know about you. I think it'd be a fun way to open this show is to do that. Okay, keep going.
Absolutely. All that can be done. So it's really quick. And we do that with all the candidates. Then we put them also through sort of more competency testing, IQ type testing as well. Can they do what they need to be doing? And so that, and that's
how do you recruit them? Because that's a pretty thorough process. I know nowadays everyone's doing these thorough processes, but how are you recruiting people when you need to hire people? You're putting jobs on Indeed in these listings, or
we do put jobs out on listings to see who will come in. But at the end of the day, I also, particularly for the executives, I build relationships with people over quite a long time, and I watch what questions they ask me, how patient are they with it? Because I'm not saying, well, you're going to be hired tomorrow.
Sure.
But I want to know...
When an opportunity presents itself.
When an opportunity presents itself, it's right for your life.
Sure.
And we get to know each other. They might do a project with us. We see how everybody works, how are they in front of clients. I might have them involved in a roundtable discussion we do. So treating them, a little bit more like a client.
Got it.
To start with. And then if the vibes are right, they can come on board.
Yeah, and I like it because you seem like a pretty honest guy, and they know that up front. It's not like they're being strung along. Like, you make that clear. Now, people will interpret that however they want to, but I think that's what's important. It's one of the other things that we've gotten really poor at. I mean, I'm in a communications business, and the communication is poor.
Yeah.
And dealing with business owners is another breed, because in their heads, you talk about egos, they think that they're solving the world's problems. They're running a $10 million decking company, and they think that they've solved cancer. They have to, in their head. You have to be that way.
Yeah.
But, when you have that, well, you don't know who you're talking to. I'm like, you're right, because you're a nobody. Like, no offense, but your company is not even clicking on a radar. So the 80 people you serve a year, I'm glad that you have influence, and I'm glad you're hiring people, but don't tell me how to do what I do either. So anyway, talk a little bit about what the future looks like, because you have these businesses that are investing in you for themselves to grow. What are your plans? What are you doing to grow and scale?
So last year we did an exercise where we looked at, do we want to grow 2 times, optimize what we're doing? That sounded boring and really hard. Or do we want to go 10x? And really, actually, it probably is now 10x from that. So it's 100x. That's sort of the track that we got ourselves on, and it's all around technology. So we looked at, okay, we reset the goal. What types of clients do we need to have to achieve that goal? Can we do it?
Sure.
Absolutely. We built all that technology to do it. Then we built one more extra piece, what we call today, we've just launched it, the DNA digital scan. So while
that's your inbound lead setup, you want people to do something, because you have to have something to create this lead. You need new customers if you're growing at that scale. So you need an entry point to get them into the system.
And the friction for us has always been that people have had to complete the DNA discovery process, taking 10 minutes.
To get in.
We took that from 30 minutes to 10, thinking that we were heroes. Not good enough, right? That's got us to 2.5 million users, which is pretty good. But now we've got the digital scan where we use AI.
Got it. Go on your LinkedIn profile, kind of get a feel for.
So we can, let's say, Nick, you wanted to step into a company and see how its 100 people are working and all of who its customers are. We can run the scan over that and tell you a whole lot of information. As opposed to getting everybody to do a profile, it's like night and day.
I mean, you could scan somebody's LinkedIn page and find out so much. I mean, I've seen some of those profiles that are built off LinkedIn, and it is because again, one of the things I enjoy. And look, AI is not there yet. I use it a lot, and it has serious inadequacies, even for what I'm using it for. But that being said, to be able to scan and make a profile of somebody based off pure fact. It's not subjective. It is objective, which makes it, I think, a super valuable tool.
But what got us to that place is the fact that we've been building our own psychometric systems for 20 years.
You have the inputs.
So we could reverse engineer our own system, and we've done all this by the book with Microsoft. They know exactly what we're doing and how it's happening. And that's just lifting the lid.
I love it.
On the business.
It's another huge part of this company, and we tell people all the time, this show is, your AI is an output. If you don't have good inputs and you don't have good information to feed it, it's going to be worthless. And I think that's what people get wrong. They think it's a magic bullet to fix everything. It needs to digest before it can make options. So if you're plugging in the systems you already have and the work, I mean, how many of these studies you have that you have actual results of what's come out of them that you can just plug in, reverse engineer, and be like, apply these principles? That's scalable. That's business.
That's very scalable. So, but I think you're right. The AI part doesn't just come. We got there because we've done 20 years of work.
Which puts you at a head start of everybody else.
And we're prepared to change the business model and take a risk out there.
Love it.
Because I think anybody else out there that's doing measurement of human behavior isn't going to take this risk.
I love it. Well, Hugh, you have to make me one promise that we check back in about a year.
Yeah.
And we have a new episode and you tell us how far you've gotten, because this has been super fun and we've been all over the place and I feel like we only scratched the surface. So Hugh, I appreciate it. You've been listening to the Marketing MadMen on Extra 106.3 and we will catch you next week.